Dave Monk.
Yes, hello.
Why are you here tonight?
Why am I here tonight? A lot of people will be asking the same question.
Could I just get you with Marconi behind?
Yes.
Right,
Me and my brother.
Me
and my brother. He's aged rather better than I have.
Ciao. Bella.
Ciao.
So why are you here, brother?
I'm here because if it weren't for this man, I wouldn't have had a job for the last 30 years. He is an incredibly important part of all our lives, and I don't think most people realise it. We wouldn't have broadcasting. If we didn't have broadcasting, we wouldn't have television, we wouldn't have the internet, we wouldn't have social media, we wouldn't have all the things that we take for granted in life now without this man. And right here in Chelmsford, in Essex, we have the centre of where he started manufacturing. And I'm right in that building at the moment, which is really exciting.
Have you ever met any of the Marconis?
No, I haven't. Unfortunately, on the 11th of November 1986, when Marconi came across to open BBC Essex, I was actually working doing something else, so I wasn't there for the great tree planting. And we've been over to Italy to talk to Princess Electra since, but it was one of my colleagues that went to do that.
You were working at the time for BBC Essex, but out and about?
No, I was doing something else. I was working, well, I've always been a freelance. I've had 30 years of freelancing for BBC Essex. And at the time, I was still a lecturer, and I had other businesses as well. So I was doing other things.
So you haven't met a Marconi. Well, could I introduce you to
thank you.
Guglielmo? Now,
Julie who?
I'm going to tell you how you pronounce him. I asked the Italian guys in Chelmsford.
Yeah.
Guglielmo, it can't be like googly. It's Guglielmo. Jules, like Jules. Guglielmo. And I just keep hearing, so you can put the BBC
Guglielmo
announcers straight. Please, guys, don't say googly. I mean, that's to do with cricket.
It is indeed, and we know all about cricket, trust me.
Why are you here tonight, then?
Because I am just having a chat and rambling on about...
Behind the mic, M-I-K or M-I-C?
Oh, M-I-C, man, I'm down with the kids. And I'm having a chat about my life and the BBC, and just answering any questions that anybody's got as to what happens behind the scenes.
What does happen behind the scenes?
Well, you'll find out in a minute.
Thank you.
Without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dave Monk, presenter of BBC Essex, who I'm sure is probably quite well known to many of you, particularly those that listen to BBC Essex. So, Dave.
Who, me? Now? Right. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, yeah, it's the Dave Monk programme on BBC Essex. Now, I've been banging on about this for quite some... Me bang on? Perish the thought. But I've been talking about celebrating our history here in Essex for a very long time. And one of the ways I think that we in Essex fall down is in Chelmsford, and Chelmsford's connection to the history of radio. Marconi, of course, had his factories here. He brought radio to homes across the country and, of course, across the world. But we're not shouting about it. We're not doing anything about it. Well, here at BBC Essex, we're hoping to change all that, along with the help of the Marconi Heritage Group and Essex County Council. We have a plan. The first step is a temporary exhibition at Marconi's old Hall Street building, which is being turned into flats. It's going to be opened to the public in a couple of weeks' time, a week or so's time, for 3 months. Chris Neale from the Marconi Heritage Group has telling me what they have got planned for it.
We will be holding Building the Wireless Age Marconi exhibition inside the original Hall Street works.
And what will that involve? What will be there?
As you know, we're doing this as a collaboration with the BBC, so there'll be a BBC Essex presence there with a stand and some information about BBC Essex and some artefacts. There will also be boards showing us the history of Hall Street and indeed the history of Marconi, particularly those activities that were carried out within Chelmsford. We've got lots of very old photographs that we'll be showing, and in fact I should be at Essex Records office tomorrow working with them as we pulled out some materials out of the archives, which have probably not been in the public domain before.
And what about stuff? What about memorabilia, if you like, and the technical stuff?
We will have a limited number of artifacts in there, given the type of environment that we'll be in. But what we are doing is we are encouraging people that have got Marconi connections to come along, and we've already had several people have said, I've got this, or I've got a document of that, and so on. Would we be interested? And the answer is yes, we are, because we want to use this as an opportunity to start to collate, if you like, the collective memory in Chelmsford of the things that went on in Marconi.
And this is really just the start of a Marconi Museum, isn't it? A radio museum for Chelmsford.
That's what we would like to be achieving, yes.
And you've just got this 3 months on the ground floor of this development, I suppose, now?
We have. It was a requirement of the planning application that the building was made open to the public for 3 months. And the developer very nicely asked us if we would put an exhibition in the building to fulfil that requirement.
Lovely. And as you said, BBC Essex very much a part of this, because you know that I've been banging on about this for years, and you've been banging on about this for years, and somebody else who's been banging on about it for years is Councillor Kevin Bentley from Essex County Council. Now, this will be the first stage, won't it, Kevin? But there are grander plans, are there not?
Well, you're absolutely right, Dave, and I have to say that I've been on the list, as you said, since I was at BBC Essex 30 years ago. I've always felt the home of radio in the world is Chelmsford, and we should have a proper broadcasting radio Marconi Museum. So this is just the start of something under the grander plan. I want the world to come to Chelmsford, the world to come to Essex, and see the birthplace of something we all enjoy every day.
But of course, it's a big ask, isn't it? And for a start, you've got to have a building. Now, is there any move forward on having a permanent building? Because this, the exhibition over the next 3 months is a sort of great start, but it needs to be bigger, doesn't it, Kevin?
It does. I think we should have a permanent home, and we are negotiating and talking about where that should be. I can't say where that is at the moment because we haven't got a firm plan. If I did, I'd tell you, but I don't have a firm plan. But we are looking at a building in Chelmsford, in the city centre. We'll be working with the City Council and all other organisations, including the BBC, yourselves, and also Chris's team as well, to find that location. This is a chance to really showcase Chelmsford to something it really is very, very famous for, and that is the birthplace of radio. We said on the signs, but that's all you see. We need to do much, much more.
When do you think a permanent home might be found? I know it's very difficult to say at the moment, but give us some idea, Kevin.
So I would like to see something really up and running by the end of this year. That's what I'm aiming to do. That's a personal ambition. I can't say I can absolutely deliver that because it's not just me that has to say so now. There's lots of other people involved in that. I've only waited 30 years, so another few months won't make a lot of difference.
Absolutely.
But I know we're all keen on, we're all pushing at the same open door here. Radio's played important parts in history to everyone's lives every day. The fact people are listening to this right now is because of one man's invention, and he came to Chelmsford to do it.
Now look, Chris Neale, once Kevin and the people that he's working with at the moment can come up with an idea for a permanent home for this, how do you see it working out? What do you see as being in this exhibition museum, whatever you like to call it?
Well, I think it's quite important that we work very closely with the Chelmsford Museum Service, and in fact they've generously allowed us to use some of the display material that they have, which is currently in Sandford Mill.
Yeah.
But Sandford Mill has got a lot of very good artifacts, a lot of which are reproduction, but give a very good feel for the kind of things that went on with Marconi and so on. So we would look to doing something along with the Chelmsford Museum Service to create something distinctive.
But it's got to be living, hasn't it, Kevin? It's got to be a living place that breathes, that local people can very much be involved in.
Absolutely. So I'd like there to be exhibitions of what cat whiskers were, because a lot of us don't know, but a lot of our grandparents will probably know what they are in crystal sets. I'd like there to be old-fashioned radio desks that people could try, that the BBC probably still has, and also I'd like some modern-day equipment as well. So build your own radio programs. Radio is part of our lives. Come and be part of the stories. And of course, ham radio, which isn't so much used now, was a major part of the 50s and 60s when people started communicating around the world. Come and be a ham radio operator for a day.
Now, Chris, Chris, going back to the 3 months that we've got in Hall Street, of course there are lots of talks and things going on as well, aren't there?
There certainly are. We've got quite a few talks. Tim Wander, who's written a book specially for us for this opening of the Hall Street. Tim Moulton, who's an author on the Titanic, because remember the wireless set that was in the Titanic was made in Hall Street.
And there's a BBC weekend.
On the 7th and 8th of May, we've got a BBC weekend. We've got yourself coming to do a talk on the 25th of March in the evening, and we've also got Ray Clark coming to do a talk on the Friday the 1st of April. So we've got quite a full programme, and we've got one or two other things that we're in discussion with at the moment.
And by the way, as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be free to come and see me talk. Absolutely. Well, you wouldn't pay, would you? No, seriously, it's going to be really good. That was Chris Neale from the Marconi Heritage Group, and also Councillor Kevin Bentley, who's Deputy Leader of Essex County Council. He's also portfolio holder for economic development within Essex. So, good idea. We think it's a good idea, because if it builds a wonderful group of people coming to our county to spend money to see our museum, it's got to be a good thing, isn't it?
Squad on cap! Squad, stand at A! Squad, stand easy, square off headgear.